In this video, we'll learn to work with simple ratio and direct proportions. We use ratio when it comes to mixing drinks together. That's just one example. So I'll use that example to illustrate. So I've got a drink here which requires mixing. So I look at instructions to see how many parts of the drink with how many parts of water I need to mix. So if I look at the instructions, it says dilute 1 part squash with at least 4 parts water. So I would have 1 part squash with 4 parts water. So these are supposed to be equal shapes. Because I need to use the same amounts. So what I've used to measure is just a scoop. You could use anything that you want so that I can fill this with a drink. So I'll have 1 part juice and 4 parts water added to it. So there is 1 part of the juice. Now I'll put in the 4 parts water. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is how the drink looks like when it's measured correctly. And as you will have noticed, I used the same scoop to measure both the juice and the water. Why have I done that? Because if I used different containers, different scoops, I would perhaps have a different ratio. Actually, I will definitely have a different ratio. It won't be the same. So if you look at it now, there is 1 part juice with 4 parts water. And if I use different containers, then they wouldn't be like for like. So I wouldn't have the same drink. So this is the ratio 1 to 4. So the ratio of drink to water is 1 to 4. That's how we read it. Now we'll actually try and see what would happen to the drink if we mixed more parts of juice than we actually asked to. So I will change this to 2 parts juice and 3 parts water. So again, in total I'll have 5 parts. I'm not changing the amount of drink that I am making. So let's have a look. So I'll put in 2 scoops of juice. 1. There is 2. And we'll need to mix it with 3 parts water. 1, 2, 3. So this is the ratio 2 to 3, the ratio of juice to water. I don't know if it's very clear on the camera, but this drink is darker than that one because we've got more juice in. Maybe we can try and compare them this way. So this is getting darker. What would happen if I mixed 3-part juice with 2 parts water? So 2 parts water now. So this is even darker. So that is 2, 3 parts juice and 2 parts water. So this is the 1 to 4 ratio, this is the 2 to 3 ratio, and this is the 3 to 2 ratio. We're talking about the ratio of juice to water. And the drink gets darker and darker because there is more juice in it, so it's more concentrated. So if we mixed 4 parts juice with 1 part water, it will be even darker. We'll focus now on the ratio of juice to water 1 to 4, because that's the one that we should be using for this drink. So if you notice, for 1 part of juice you need to mix it with 3 more parts of water, so not just 1 but 4 parts altogether. Or in other ways, you mix in 4 times of juice, so the amount of water is 4 times the amount of juice. And this is how we write that: 1 to 4. So 1 is juice and 4 is water. It's important to label them because then you'd get mixed up which one is juice and which one is water. Although when we say it, that's what tells us the order. So I said the ratio of juice to water. So I'll say whatever comes first, the ingredient that comes first, I would say that first. And that's what you read in the questions as well. So it will be the same order in the questions. So we'll try and see what actually happens if I wanted to make 2 cups of drink. If I wanted to double the amount of drink, what would happen? So here I have my cup and I'm going to make another drink of the same ratio. So I will make ready 1 part or 1 scoop of juice. That's in. Now I need 3 parts of water, so the ratio remains the same because it's really important if we want to get the juice right. So I will go 1, 2, 3, 4. So the ratio is the same, it's the same type of drink. And so what did we do? How much did I put all together? How much of each of the ingredients? How much juice and how much water? So I actually mixed again 1 part juice and 4 parts water. So the ratio is the same. Now in total for the 2 cups, how much juice did I put in? I put 1 there and another here. So I put 2 parts juice. And how much water in total? That was 4 and another 4. That made 8 parts water. So what do we notice? I'm making double the amount of juice. So I'm actually now having 10 parts in total. So I'm doubling the amount. I'm having 2 cups now. What's happened to the amount of juice? It's gone from 1 to 2, so it's doubled. Multiplied by 2. What's happened to the amount of water? It's doubled as well, so it's been multiplied by 2. So if I want to make another cup of drink, there we go. I'll need to mix again for that drink 1 part juice and 4 parts water. 1, 2, 3, 4 parts water. So for the 3 drinks, what do I have? I have now in total I have 1, 2, 3 parts juice, and I have 4, 8, 12 parts water. So what happened? I made 3 cups, so the amount of juice was multiplied by 3, so 1 times 3 gives me 3, and the amount of water was multiplied by 3 as well, so 4 times 3 gives me 12. So what we're learning through this is that whatever you multiply one amount by, you need to multiply the other one by as well in order to keep the ratio the same. And what we call this ratio staying the same as you increase the amounts, we're saying these amounts are increasing in proportion. We call this direct proportion. So if you double one amount, you double the other one. If you treble one amount, you treble the other one. So this is what happens. Now I want us to think. I have 4 parts of juice available. How much water do I need to mix that with so that this goes in proportion, so we don't change the ratio? Now, if I look at this, to get from 1 to 4, I've multiplied by 4. So I must multiply by 4 the amount of water as well. So there we go, 4 times 4 gives 16. So 16 parts of water I mix with 4 parts of juice. So if I have 32 parts of water available and I want to know how much juice I'll need to mix with that amount of water, so I'll need to find out what's happened. How did we get from 4 to 32? What did we multiply it by? And that was by 8, because 4 times 8 gives me 32. So I must multiply 1 by 8 as well, so that the ratio remains the same. So that 1 times 8 gives me 8. So 8 parts of juice will be mixed up with 32 parts of water. Another thing I would like us to look at is the total. What happens to the total amount of juice? So when I made one drink, I mixed 1 part juice with 4 parts water. So that was in total 5 parts that made the drink. Now, when I doubled the amount, so I made 2 drinks, all together I had 2 parts juice and 8 parts water. So both that made 10 parts. So I doubled the amount, and that 2 and 8 gives me 10. So what do you notice between 5 and 10 as well? That doubled as well. So it multiplied by 2. 5 was multiplied by 2. So 1 times 2 gave us 2. 4 times 2 gave us 8. And 5, which is the total, times 2 gives us 10. So let's see whether that's the case with this. 3 and 12 gives me 15. So what's happened from the 5 to the 15? What have we multiplied by? It's by 3, which is exactly what we did with each of these ingredients. So juice, 1 times 3 give us 3, and water, 4 times 3 give us 12. So we multiply the total as well by the same number. And let's look at that. We've got 4 and 16 makes 20. So 1 times 4 gives us 4, 4 times 4 gives us 16, and 5 times 4 gives us 20. So the total has been multiplied by 4 as well. And 8 and 32 gives us 40. So 1 times 8 gives us 8, 4 times 8 gives us 32, and 5 times 8 gives us 40. So it is exactly the same number you're multiplying each ingredient by, as well as the total. So my question is now, if you wanted to make 100 milliliters of drink, all together 100 milliliters of drink, so the total would be 100 milliliters. What amount of juice and what amount of water do you need to mix? How many parts of juice and how many parts of water? So I'll look at the total. So I need 100, and the total for the ratio that we started with, 1 to 4, was 5. So what do I do to 5 to get to 100? That is multiplying by 20. So I've got to do the same with these ingredients. So I'll go and multiply the juice by 20 to give me 20. So 1 times 20 is 20. And the water, which is 4, times the 20 gives me 80. So I multiplied by the same number. And that was 100 milliliters. So these must be milliliters as well, because they haven't got any units. So that suggests that the units will be the same for all the ingredients and the total. So let's recap some of the key things, what we learned. So the ratio is written as 1 to 4. So a number with 2 dots and a 4, and is read as 1, 2, 4. 2 to 8, 20 to 80, and so on. What we learned is that we've got to keep the amounts the same. So if you're using 1 unit, so the container you're using to measure the juice, you need to use the same container to measure the water to keep the amounts the same. Otherwise, the ratio wouldn't be the same. What we learned also is that if we increase the number of units of one of the ingredients and decrease the other one, then the juice will change. It won't be the same. Ours got darker and darker as we added more of the juice, and we decreased the amount of water. What we also learned was that if we double the amount of one ingredient, we have to double the amount of the other ingredient. If we treble the amount of one ingredient, we'll treble the amount of the other one. If we multiply by 10 the amount of one ingredient, we'll do the same for the other one. But what we also learned is that whatever you multiply the ingredient by, you have to multiply the total by as well, because even the total increases in proportion.